We are recording it. We are dead. Ladies, gentlemen, non-binary people of the internet, this is the Leg Thick podcast. Wow, what a
Brother,
weekend.
is it bright outside? Is it bright indoors? What's going on?
Actually,
I think it's at this point that Stefano has now ascended to superstardom. I think he's trying to let us know that he's out here.
Yeah,
and us peons must now refer to him by Sir Stefano.
Yeah, honestly, the flash of the paparazzi is giving me headaches. Yeah, like the weekend, I am surrounded by blinding lights, but it's all good. No, if you want the real story, I actually discovered that I'm a distant relative of Steve McQueen, so gonna grow the mustache out.
That is a very joke.
Yeah.
Michael, do you know what that means?
Listen, I am a little white at heart. I lived in Woodbridge for a little while.
As are we all. But who is Steve McQueen?
Man,
Why don't you do a little Google search and figure it out? Anyways, we're the Leg Kick Podcast. The real reason I'm actually wearing these glasses is because I sat on my other glasses right before the podcast, and they're broken. And the only other prescription glasses I have now are sunglasses. So here we go. I'm Bono. Bono, man. Do it for the kids, man. I'm Bono, man. Yeah, that's me.
Before we go in, do you know what's worse than sitting on your glasses and not having a backup pair?
What?
Sitting on your girlfriend's glasses and have a backup pair.
Ooh, boy. Ooh, boy.
Sorry, go on.
Yeah, you're in for fire and brimstone then.
As a person who knows David's girlfriend, yeah, that's not good.
I don't have glasses, so I don't know what that means, but it's a big deal.
It means losing your vision. It sucks.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Right.
Mike, before we got on air, first of all, let me introduce us to the fans, right? Please allow me to introduce myself. My name is O. H to the OZ. I used to sell snowflakes by the OZ. Anyways. We're here, not in studio. We're here in the comfort of our own homes, bringing you the Leg Kick Podcast because it is COVID season, ladies and gentlemen. I'm here with my co-hosts, Michael, Asiffo, flashing us the peace signs over here. He claims to be a conservative, but he's a hippie at heart. The number one MMA prospect to ever come out of Ghana, because God knows there aren't that many others. And then over here to my immediate left, we have David Agabruto, a man.
Did you italicize his name?
Yeah, Agabruto. Yeah, what's wrong with that?
All right.
Anyways, we've got David here. Wow. I was going to make a joke about him needing $300 to get back from Nigeria, but that'd be tasteless, and I've already done that like 6 weeks in a row. So, David, everybody.
What it do, baby? I'm green like Nigeria. Let's go.
What it do, baby?
And then we've got myself, the diversity hire. I am Stefano, Pupper of War Hosko, and we are here to review the fights. If you haven't already, shoot us a like, subscribe, physically mutilate that subscribe button. Tell a friend about us. We really appreciate it when you do. And we want to keep making.
Like Phil DeFranco and be like, if you subscribe, or I'll punch you in the throat or something stupid like that.
Yeah. If you don't subscribe, I'll give your mom a swirly, and and David will slap your dad on the ass. Anyways, wow. I guess we should lead with some announcements. Insert title graphic here.
Do you know the crazy thing? Why? And maybe we should have talked about this off pod, but announcements both on the preview and on the actual show. Like, don't say we don't spoil you, everyone.
Sensuously. Like, Jesus, what is this, Valentine's Day every day of the year?
Exactly.
Man.
Too much spoiling on the Leg Kick.
Right. As men, how do we feel about Valentine's Day?
I think we need an inverse holiday somewhere in August. Because I hope my girlfriend's not listening to this. But ladies, let me tell you something. Valentine's Day, it ain't for us. It's for you. No, I lie. My girlfriend was very good to me this Valentine's Day.
Cool.
I'm gonna plead the fifth. I usually like Valentine's. I kind of flopped this year, but usually I'm pretty good.
You
And
flopped this year?
I
So
hate
did I.
Valentine's. I consider Valentine's to be one of those pagan holidays enforced on us by our Western overlords that doesn't make any sense because who the hell is St. Valentine's? Why does he have anything to do with love? Why should I care? Why does Hallmark make all the money off of this made-up holiday?
Because Hallmark actually created Valentine's.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Oops.
Oopsies.
Why
Anyways,
you gotta spoil it?
Does that make me anti-love if I say that though?
let's just hope our girlfriends aren't listening.
That
For
is-
God's sake. Let's
Yeah,
hope
my
that
supreme
they're
overlord.
let's hope that they're very saturated from us and don't need to hear our voice. Our voices any furthermore. So, getting into some pretty fights news.
Yeah. Ooh, I have an
th-
announcement. Sorry, go ahead.
You first.
All right, I was gonna say, how do we feel about Armin Azaitar not getting cut by the UFC? Dana White has decided to give him a second chance after the debacle that was Fight Island, where he, sent a secret agent to give him some sort of bag, and then, no,
Yeah, why not? I mean, he's suffered enough. Give him another chance. He compromised. I thought they'd keep him out of the UFC because he potentially jeopardized a Conor McGregor fight card, right?
yeah,
That's the UFC doesn't take to that lightly. So uncharacteristically lenient here. Yeah, I don't hate it.
Mm-mm.
There doesn't seem to be very much news as to the reason why. They just said, "Hey, he made a mistake and he's not cut." So, yeah, I don't know. I really don't know why. So I really don't want to speculate. I just think it's weird. They took a pretty hardline stance coming out of it. So I'm wondering why they changed their decision, personally. But
Maybe the bag wasn't as serious as they thought it was.
I think it's just breaking COVID protocols that was the main
yeah,
thing.
does that change anything though?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyways, so here we go. Okay. A matchup that I'm not sure many people care about. We've got Juliana Pena versus Holly Holm in a matchup where Holly Holm loses and squashes another contender who wasn't going to beat Amanda Nunes anyways. Is that a fair assessment?
Sorry,
Holly
Holly
Holm
Holm
loses?
loses.
No, Holly Holm wins and
Oh.
then squashes another contender who wasn't really going to beat Amanda Nunes anyway.
No disagreements here, sir.
Yeah, okay. By the way, did you guys hear that one interview or one post-fight press conference where Juliana Pena goes on this, like Einstein level mental gymnastics as to why she should get a title shot against Amanda Nunes? Did anyone see this? Where she was like, she said, "Oh, I was beating GDR until I beat myself," and she got me with an armbar. I kid you not, I'm paraphrasing. It was a little more complicated than that. But he was like, I was beating so and so before I before I beat myself, and then I won this fight. So I think I think I'm really, really good and I should get a title shot.
You know
I was
what's
like,
funny,
wow,
though?
the hoops.
People
It's
always-
like that meme with Charlie Day from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, where he's like pointing at the overly complicated chalkboard with all the equations and papers, and he's just like,
Oh man.
Yeah. What needs to be said about that? Maybe she should get the next shot. Who knows? Just because after Megan Anderson, I mean, what really is there to be had in that division?
They'll find something. They'll find something.
Yeah, they'll dig someone up. I want to see Ronda Rousey against Amanda Nunes again.
Look at David. Look at me.
Next topic, man.
So Alex Perez versus Matt Schnell reportedly in the works for May 15th.
I like that fight a lot, actually. I like that
Yeah,
fight.
me too. Alex Perez rebounding now off of the loss to Davison Figueiredo. Not much news. The big news is that apparently the new season of Tough, we may have an announcement as far as who the new coaches are going to be. You guys want to take any stabs at it?
Ooh, it's got to be Masvidal Usman, right? Or Masvidal Covington. Those are my two guys.
Mike, what do you think?
I'm kind of in around the same lines. Usman, Masvidal, or Covington, Masvidal, or any one of those three.
That's the one. The rumor is Masvidal Usman.
Mm-hmm.
That's the.
I like
that's
that
the
one.
rumor.
I like that.
I mean, I like them as personalities. It'll be I like them both as fighters. I find it's going to be an entertaining season. Definitely a lot of drama. I don't know that I love Masvidal inevitably getting the next title shot, to be honest with you. I would have personally loved to maybe, I don't know. I guess they're capitalizing off of Kamaru Usman being hot right now, and they're trying to. The Ultimate Fighter can be a good way to get exposure for stars, and hopefully it's a big push for Kamaru's career. I hope that, because Masvidal already very famous, and people are going to be paying for that must-see TV whenever he says.
Do you think people are starting to fall out of love with Jorge Masvidal though?
I am, but that's just me, and I'm a curmudgeon.
Yeah, I don't know, because I like him for different reasons than his very rabid fan base loves him for. I love to see him fight. I think he's entertaining. I think he's got phenomenal boxing. I love how he boxes from that high Muay Thai stance. He's crafty. He's been doing it for years. I think a lot of people like him because of the memeability and the personality, and I don't know how those people I don't know too much about those people. Danny might be a better person to ask about that.
Yeah, I'll talk to him. Shout out to Danny. Hilarious. No.
Hilarious. Shout out. He did the thing. Anyways, I think personally what I would like to have seen was Covington Masvidal.
Mm-hmm.
I would not get as many eyes, though. I get why they went with Usman, who's a champion, because then they could lead it to another rematch fight, which would arguably be. I think a rematch between. I don't know. Now I'm thinking, what's a bigger fight? Rematch between Usman and Covington, rematch between Usman and Masvidal, or a match between Masvidal and Covington?
Dang.
Ooh, that's an interesting little thought experiment there. I think anything with a title on it's probably going to be the biggest matchup, but then again, not necessarily.
That Usman Covington fight rematch has to be. It's got to be bigger than the Masvidal rematch, right?
Did you throw Masvidal Covington in there? Because I think that would be the biggest one.
Masvidal Covington? You think so?
I think so, just because it has a lot of those elements that the casuals tend to like. I'm not thinking in terms of what I want to see, but I'm thinking in terms of
what's going to get numbers.
Yeah, the casuals love to see that kind of banter and trash talk, and they the controversial headlines, and there's obviously a past between them. It's an interesting dynamic I didn't think about with the Masvidal Usman Ultimate Fighter is that it's kind of like ATT versus Black Zillions all over again that season.
That's interesting. Yeah, no, especially since Black Zillions. Well, technically speaking,
Sanford MMA now.
Didn't Usman? Not even though, because Usman didn't he leave for Whitman's camp? What's Whitman's camp called again?
That's true. Yeah, Elevation Fight Team. Yeah. Okay. So, anyways, did we talk about the Gina Carano thing?
No. Oh, sorry. One note about that ATT season though. ATT versus Black Zillions. I think it's one of the most underrated seasons of Tough I've ever seen. But
yeah, thoroughly entertaining season. I liked it. So next we have the Gina Carano debacle, which took place, which we didn't really talk about, which is interesting because it screams us, overly politicizing things. I mean, for those of you that don't know, that have been living under a rock, Gina Carano, who used to be a pioneer of women's MMA, back in the day, she would have been kind of like a Ronda Rousey, like an early Ronda Rousey. Wasn't in the UFC, fought in Strikeforce, but Strikeforce was big. For those of you who don't know, they had a lot of talent. UFC didn't have WMMA at the time. And to be honest, I think Strikeforce kind of had a monopoly over a lot of the talent at heavyweight and 185 at the time, at the very least, dominated those divisions. And they had some very good talent at 55, solid 70, 170 pounders, but basically 265 and 185. When they came into the UFC, when they bought Strikeforce, just those divisions became dominant. Yeah, took it over. And so it was kind of at this Strikeforce era where Gina Carano was, making her mark on the sport. And then she ran into Cyborg and was beaten to oblivion. And
most people are.
Basically, surprised, she has some odious opinions and said some reprehensible stuff, shared some very anti-Semitic memes. Disney had warned her multiple times, like, can you stop shitposting? Like, it's just stop. Please, no shitposting. We're giving you your own show. We're giving you your own Star Wars show. You're going to be a multi-millionaire. All you have to do is stop posting these, like, anti-mask and anti-Semitic memes. And she didn't. Kept posting it, got fired. Surprise! Like,
yeah. Man, a couple things with this.
What was she supposed to be getting? A show?
Yeah, she's okay. So she's
on the Mandalorian, right?
She's on the Mandalorian. That's how she's relevant. Yeah. And she's decently good looking. So. And was sort of an icon back in the earlier days of women's.
Wait, hold on. Don't play us like that. Decently good looking. She's attractive. Let's stop.
I am not a big fan of her more masculine features, but that's not for me to decide. I think she's an attractive woman. I'm not personally into her, but for what that's worth, we're not really here to.
Not much.
Yeah, I was just saying, don't play with us like that. Come on, man. No, but
not like that.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Sorry.
Because of these factors, she has appeal and kind of spun her MMA career into a bit of an acting career, right? As many have attempted to do and failed miserably. But
Kung Lee looking at you.
What's that?
Kung Lee looking at you.
Tyron Woodley.
The Mandalorian's a pretty big show, so shouts out to her for even getting into that position. But then again, you really got to question the decision making.
She was also in Deadpool 1.
Posting. That.
Well, David, not even just that. Not even is it a big show. They were going to give her own show, her own Star Wars show after this. So that's like, if you know anything about the Star Wars fan base, they love their Star Wars. They love, and it's fun to troll them. But yeah, it's so stupid. Like,
and what's crazy? She won them over. I remember the beginning of Mandalorian when she was introduced. They were like, "Oh, who's this Mary Sue?" and yada yada, usual Star Wars toxic stuff, right? And then she, hits it out of the park with her performance, and
Ray is a Mary Sue, by the way.
Huh?
Like Ray from The Last Jedi is a Mary Sue, but go on.
Whatever. But like the whole point is like they were flinching and saying like, look at this Mary Sue, I can't believe she's on there, and within 5 episodes they love her, and so it was like, just stop with the posting. Stop.
Yeah, it's
with
stupid.
The posting.
It, like, I can understand wanting to have discourse online and whatnot, but like, and people are saying, "Oh yeah, well Disney sucks," and they credited like the province in China for the filming of Mulan. They credited them the province in China who is undergoing the Uyghur genocide. So yeah, Disney's reprehensible and terrible. I agree. So hop on the socialist bandwagon. Welcome, comrade. Like, I don't get it.
What does that have to do with her violating her contract? I don't understand.
Well, nothing. It's just the argument that they use. It's like, well, Disney thinks they're so pure. Like, they're not. I hate them. So do you hate corporations too now? Whatever.
Larry, so I don't understand. It's just so dumb. Just to harp on that.
This is the most cut and dry issue. This is the most cut and dry issue, I think. And like, there's plenty of more high-profile cases for people being fired for what they believe in.
Dude, I have a story. I know a guy who got fired from because he said he was going to go to Florida, and he came back, and he said there's a lot of black people, white people segregation in Florida, and he got fired from for saying that.
What? Really?
Yeah. Right.
This is very Toronto of you.
Yeah, and this is and this is a black guy. This is a black guy who was just talking about the segregation going on between, like, because America just hasn't really necessarily recovered from the segregation in the 1960s, especially down south.
You mean they never recovered from the Civil War? Let's be honest.
Yeah, no, let's be honest, right? But the whole point is that like he was just speaking on his experience, right? And they brought him in, and you know what? I'll beep out the company I'm talking about, but like I know the guy, and they brought him in and they fired him.
Was he? It doesn't matter. Fair enough. Point
Right?
made.
But my point is that like companies do this all the time when people say things that aren't in line. I guess the problem is he said it to a guest and not like a.
Yeah, I think that's more like that.
Yeah,
That's a little different because when you're working, like I agree, when you're working, keep your opinions to yourself, do your job, whatever. But I don't believe that. No, like I don't like that corporations get to control people's lives outside of work. I think that's reprehensible as well, and I hate that. But I mean, if you're a representative of a company in a role like as an actress or whatnot, and you're sharing racism online, I mean, there's an association between those brands, and I can understand Disney wanting to fire her for like some kind of, I don't know if it's written in her contract or anything. I don't know if it's a breach of contract.
Almost definitely is.
Probably.
And
Disney seems to have,
like most like codes in terms of like discrimination codes. Like you can't say anti-Semitic, overtly racist stuff like that. Usually, in most
but my point is, it's not just. But my point is, this isn't just a Gia Carano thing or an actor thing. This is like an everyday work thing, right? Like it happens everywhere.
Wasn't there a journalist who was recently fired for criticizing Israel?
Was that? I can't remember. The New York Times had a woman who kept kind of antagonizing I guess the left, and then she quit and then said she was being canceled. The New York Times was like, nah, you quit. Like,
oh, I didn't remember that.
Yeah. They're like, nah, you quit.
Yeah, that's for a different podcast. I do think, this is for a different podcast.
Yeah. I just think that a lot of people like to muddy the waters for stuff that kind of.
Oh yeah, this guy was fired from The Guardian for criticizing U.S.'s military support of Israel. Nathan Robinson, that was what I was thinking of. So it's like, where's the outrage for him? That's a legitimate political opinion by a journalist, not fucking racism.
It's interesting. People like to latch on to things that, I'll say it like this. There's a phrase out there that people need a story. You know what I'm saying? People need a story.
Say it like this: it's that journalist's job to write opinions. Or to even report on facts and infuse opinions in there. It's not Gina Carano's job to say racist or anti-Semitic stuff on Twitter. And Disney is probably well within the rights to terminate her contract as a result. So I'm sorry, it sucks, but you can't say, even though you can be like freedom of speech, but you can't say like, the consequences of that, like that follow after that, like you're absolved of that. Like, no, it doesn't work that way.
And I doubt that she's going to be, what's the word? She's going to be hampering for money or another job. Someone will hire.
She's fine. She was probably making like, I forget, but it was like hundreds of thousands of dollars per episode or something like that. Yeah. She's good. She's good. She's no
most likely will work again. Like I don't see why she wouldn't work again.
Oh yeah, she's working on a movie now with Ben Shapiro.
Yeah, I was gonna say Mel Gibson's working again. Why the hell?
She's literally, her and Ben Shapiro are literally in the works to produce some like dog shit movie though. Like that's actually what's that? Say it again.
I love it.
I don't. I hope they both catch COVID.
Oh God.
Well, they're COVID deniers, so I actually do. Anyways, moving on from politics, let's talk about the fights that were.
All right.
So
yes.
Finally.
I mean, where else do we begin but the main event, right?
Can I just say, David? They called me crazy. You even called me crazy on the preview.
For what? For saying what?
My Derrick Lewis prediction in the main event. Now, I didn't fully necessarily predict Derrick Lewis.
You didn't commit to it. I
gave him, but hold on. I gave him a solid chance, and I gave reasons why.
Yeah.
And I gave reasons why. And those reasons played out in real time.
Yeah.
Okay?
I gotta say.
I will say though,
I put my money where my mouth is.
I will say your idea of Curtis Blaydes striking going to dog poo if he couldn't get a takedown is kind of wrong. You know,
It's
he
kind
looked
of
good.
it's kind of wrong. It's kind of wrong because he had some tricks and tips. I really liked after those initial exchanges where Derrick Lewis landed those winging combos. Blaydes was like, okay, I'm gonna settle down, right? Employ some more feints, stay on the outside, and straight hitting, low kicks, take my time. And he had some good timing on that step back right hand counter. There were a couple of cool sequences in the first hand where Lewis swung, Blaydes stepped back and countered. Lewis swung, and then Blaydes stepped back and countered again with that right hook, right cross. That was pretty nice. A lot of the similar features of his game, largely jab cross, jab low kick was mainly what he did his hitting with. Angling off, he used southpaw, but not really for much. So this was standard Curtis Blaydes fare. But what surprised me is that he did sit down on his punches a little bit more against a power puncher.
Mm-hmm.
But what got him in trouble?
I feel like Derrick Lewis was doing his best to draw Curtis Blaydes into a firefight. Usually when a guy is countering, they're countering with like 1, 2 like really good shots. Derrick Lewis was swinging combos every single time Curtis Blaydes tried to close that distance. So I can
He was on a hair trigger.
I can see why Blaydes is like, okay, you know what? I'm going to counter your counter, and why it could look a little bit like there were, especially in some of those later exchanges, why it looked a little bit more like a brawl in spurts.
But you know what's sad? I think both of them looked really good. Like especially Blaydes.
No. Shouts out. You see, and I don't want to be critical because I love these guys and they're all great fighters. First of all, I don't think Derrick Lewis, with all due respect, looked like crazy good. I thought he played it smart, but I thought, like, had he lost that fight, like, I think we would say that was a pretty bad Derrick Lewis performance because there was a lot of like sitting and waiting. I mean, in the second round, I think at that point he was still single digit with significant strikes. Like I didn't see enough activity.
I think I'm fair enough. Yeah, I'm with David. I don't think he looked any worse than normal. Although he claimed after the fight that he couldn't get going, even in the back room, didn't feel like he was, doing very well. Couldn't get going and was just looking for that uppercut. I can't believe no one's made this comparison before. I really think Derrick Lewis is kind of the Deontay Wilder of the UFC. I really think that
I can see that. I can see that.
I would go. Well, Yoel Romero, I think has a little more. There's a lot more variety to his craft. He's got Don't shake your head at me. He's an Olympic wrestler.
Yeah, he's a little more like
he's crafty,
idiosyncratic. He'll do like some more wild stuff, but it's the same approach of sit, wait for the guy to come and counter, and hope to crack them with the power. Yeah. With the power.
To an extent, but I just mean as far as shot selection, there's a lot more weapons there. There's a lot more threats. Derrick Lewis, it's largely, that swinging combination of like hook, uppercut, hook. That's largely what he does, and overwhelms you with speed. Occasionally, he'll surprise you with like a flying knee or a jumping kick, but. A lot of his game is based around his physicality and being able to time his limited tools, right?
What I will say, though, is those same limited tools are the things that worried Curtis Blaydes the most, because you could tell.
I'm not criticizing his limitations. I'm just saying they are what they are.
I'm just like kind of building up your thought and saying, like, after the first couple of exchanges, you could tell Curtis Blaydes was like, okay, no, like, I gotta actually think before I close the distance on this guy. I'm not just gonna be able to shoot nakedly. I'm not gonna be able to just like 1-2 and then jump in. Like, it's gonna have to be a little more crafty than that. And he started to respect, Derrick Lewis's power a little bit more. For me, I saw power disadvantage a little bit for Blaydes. Not much, but there was a little bit, because you could tell like Derrick Lewis must hit like a wow
Mack truck. And young fighters out there, listen to me. Don't get in extended exchanges with power punchers. Don't do it. Feint, and then when the time comes and you have to offset their reactions, right? You get a predictable pattern. You get them to swing at you and miss,
and then you strike. Two things on that, because Derrick Lewis absolutely was like, to his credit, like he wasn't biting on too many of the feints, especially like early on. I think once he started getting lit up, like he was a little bit more jumpy.
He's a bit of a
Um,
sitting duck, yeah. And
yeah.
look, my one criticism. Sorry, David, I interrupted you. Go
No,
ahead.
no, 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 no. I was just gonna say that. But then once again, even then, Derrick Lewis did a good job of like staying like patient and no, in fact, sorry, go on. I've lost it. Whatever.
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, what this loss came down to in the end was Curtis Blaydes forgetting about his wrestling for large
Thank
portions
you.
of this fight.
Yeah.
And I don't even necessarily mean that in terms of he had to be wrestling every second of the fight, even when he's having success in the striking, because he was having notable success. Just remind Derrick Lewis that it's there. Just remind him. Just
But
a little dip, a little
But
dip, a little level change.
no,
And if he
wait,
did
hold
that,
on.
hold
I
on,
think
real
that's
quick.
what got him
If
in
he,
trouble, though.
it
No?
is. If he did that, maybe he would have seen the uppercut counter. But that was the first shot in over, since the beginning of the fight, that the first double leg that was attempted by Blaydes, and he got caught on it. Why? He didn't disguise it. He just went for it. He just went for a fairly sloppy double leg, and normally he does a good job of mixing it in with jab cross, and then jab takedown.
Oh wait,
Oh,
sorry.
no. Oh, no.
Oh no,
I'll
self-censorship.
say this.
Self-censorship. Yeah, go
I'll
on,
say
Michael.
this.
'Cause I feel like we're gonna agree.
Yeah, no, I'll say this. Ngannou said it best. Ngannou on Twitter went, all that setup, and you just shot him for a double leg takedown naked, right? And I was like, of all people to say that, I was like, whoa, hold on a second. Ngannou said that? Like, I was like, whoa, But it's true, right? Why are you had all this setup. You had the double jab working for you and the low kick.
Yeah,
This was biting on a lot of things. You're telling me you can go 1-2 and then dip under,
yeah.
Yeah, that was a simple counter. It was a simple counter to a telegraphed maneuver, unfortunately, and Blaydes makes the unfortunate thing is with a lot of fighters you can get away with this. A lot of fighters you can absorb that shot, that uppercut, and just push through to the fence. But with Derrick Lewis, you got to be perfect.
I gotta say this, a couple things. Number one, I do think Blaydes was threatening the takedown.
We're getting Chinese.
I mean, Derek
Balls
Lewis,
of
you see where I
man.
was going with this. No, but I do think he was threatening the takedown a little bit more than you give him credit for, if I may say so, Stefano, because I do think, first of all, he tried to take him down in the early exchange, like the first minute two of the first round, and Derek Lewis did exactly what he did in the final exchanges. He actually went for that uppercut, and the commentator even said, "Oh, Derek Lewis is going for the uppercut with the takedown." Like Michael Bisping talked about it in the first round. So he did like there must have been something that happened to like even engage that. And towards the second, I feel like I'm making a lot of points here, but towards the second round, he was kind of what you guys are saying, doing the jab fake under. He wasn't following through though. I feel like that's the key part. And there
Well,
was a
you
point.
know what? I would actually say that I would have said to Curtis Blaydes if I was in his corner, honestly, strike more. Like, yeah, I would have honestly said that because
Oh, that was the problem.
That's
Though.
that. Therein lies the problem, Mike.
no,
But go on.
because hear me out. Because I think what happened is he's so prideful in his wrestling, but he's actually got some tools there that can make Derek Lewis. I know I sound like a mad genius, but was
Yes.
lighting up Derek Lewis, right?
Derek Lewis.
And I think what the problem with Curtis Blaydes and striking is not necessarily skills and technique, it's confidence. So what I'm saying is be not necessarily be Golden Gloves Curtis Blaydes, but what I'm saying though is you have the low kick singing for you. You have the jab singing for you. You even had that right cross off of the pull singing for you. Confidence.
What fight were you watching? I saw a man who was very confident in his striking.
No, I
Like
think
he was
like
landing with frequency when he threw.
Because
but like
that takedown
against
was a
counter
panic
striker.
takedown. I think that takedown was a panic takedown.
no, he tried one takedown first of all,
I
and
gotta
it
take
got
David to task as well here.
no
Because
wait. But first of all, Curtis Blade did a takedown and or attempted a takedown, got stuffed, or not even stuffed. He got like defended because he didn't even get to the floor. And then they separated, and then he tries to go for it again about like a minute later and gets caught with like an uppercut. So
Yeah, David, but listen, that one takedown, if you attempt one takedown, then there's like a 7-minute break in between when you attempt your next takedown and you get caught with the same counter. That shows to me
it was like
whatever. However long it was. Hold on. Let me make this point. That shows to me two things. One, you're not downloading the data from that first strike. Two, you're not consistently faking the wrestling in order to draw that reaction out, right? And that doesn't necessarily have to be the case, but like a naked shot is just unacceptable. You have to keep faking the takedown just to establish that as a threat and desensitize them, or you have to get their hands up high. You have to do, and he's shown competency in that. This was just a brief lapse in judgment, A, and B, a failure to commit to wrestling as a part of the strategy overall.
Stefano, and I have to agree with your B points, actually, because that's kind of what I'm trying to say is that, I don't think it was a case that he wasn't fainting, because I did see some fainting, and he was drawing reactions out of Derrick Lewis, in my opinion, because
and good movement.
Faking the takedown, though.
And good movement.
For the takedown, yes, for the takedown, not just the leg kicks, which he did a great job. And to your point, Michael, I think like the stand-up was working not in spite of anything, but just that was not by luck, but that's not his game. I wouldn't advise him to strike more against Derrick Lewis. I think that's what got him in trouble. I think the opposite, and he should have just gone for more takedowns. He was feinting decently, but he wasn't following up with takedowns. There was one point where he had Derrick Lewis' back was touching touching the cage. And at that point, it's like, okay, heavyweight Khabib, go for the shot, like do something. And
Derrick Lewis is just really good off of the cage, though. Like his takedown defense off the cage. I don't know
nothing about nothing, but
guys,
I didn't see enough follow through. But yeah, that's my thought.
Just one quick point for my fellow grapplers and MMA out there: set up your takedowns.
100%.
Listen to me. Say it with me. Say it with me.
Say again.
Set up your takedowns. For the people in the back, set up your fucking takedowns. I'm sick of it.
But you know what's crazy? Okay, so the low kick was working for him too. So this is another thing. The low kick was working for him too, and it got Derrick Lewis off balance. I don't know why he didn't shoot off of the low kick.
That would have been good.
And it's a move that he does too. He does it with regularity. He likes to throw a low kick. He gets his foot behind that knee and then shoots, and it trips him.
Or shot under one of Derrick Lewis's counters, right?
Do you think that maybe it's a problem about, the fluidity of his game between striking, wrestling? You know what I mean? Like
they've mentioned that before.
It's there. David, it happens. It's there. In his last fight against Volkov, that blending between striking and wrestling was there, and I even made the point on the podcast. He looked excellent while blending his game together. It's just when one aspect of his game doesn't work, the rest seems to disintegrate a bit. And to his credit, even though he was stopped on the takedowns early in this one, his striking still looked better than it did in, let's say, the Ngannou fight when he got stopped on the early takedowns. But got to keep shooting, got to keep him working. And I don't know about you guys, but I thought Curtis Blaydes was dead.
I thought he was dead too.
Derrick Lewis hit so hard, man. Like that was.
Did you hear Derrick Lewis's line after too in like mid cage after he does the suck it? He goes, "It's Herb Dean's fault." And
what did you guys think about that? I thought that also with not that it was the reason he lost, but it played a factor. Like the fact that Derrick Lewis, I wouldn't say he was cheating, but he was acting like he was getting poked in the eye. Like there was a lot of. I thought
Herb Dean actually did a really good job in this fight. I actually thought
Herb Dean did a great job, but I think it might have taken kind of like them out of that zone, you know what I mean? And might have been a distraction, which made that temporary lapse in judgment. Because like Curtis Blaydes seemed very apologetic, and I get it, you are who you are when you fight, but
he did eye rake him though. That's the problem. He did the early round. He did eye rake him, right? And an eye rake, I'll tell you, is way worse than an eye poke. Way worse, because you're messing with that pupil. So I think Derrick Lewis was still affected. So when you do hit to the eye, you're thinking eye rake times 2, right? Or eye poke times 2. And so I can see a world where he does complain. Like he's like, okay, come on, man. But to Herb Dean's credit,
he was like, that wasn't a poke, that was a slap.
Yeah. To Herb Dean's credit, though, he said, "Hey, man, that's not a slap." And to Herb Dean's credit, when Derrick Lewis tried to do it back by having his hands out this way, he caught him and was like, "Hey, you're not going to BS me." And I think to Herb Dean's credit, we like to, well, one of us likes to rag on Herb Dean. And don't get me wrong, I'll do it too. But I think to his
No, you
credit,
won't.
he actually did a good job of keeping it under control.
Mike ripping on Herb Dean. That's funny.
No, I
Starting
actually
to think he's
he
a secret sponsor of the podcast.
No, I did.
Um,
But do we think he did a bad job with it? I think he was pretty good in being assertive.
Yeah, not necessarily. It's easy to miss certain calls. What I think was, I don't know if this is Herb Dean's fault. What do you guys think about Derrick Lewis following up with those 3 shots? We'll call it 2 because 2 of them were when he was on the ground. What do you think about him following up with those 2 academic shots afterwards?
The
I
first one
mean,
I didn't mind. The second one was kind of.
I didn't mind him. I don't mind Derek Lewis doing it, and I don't mind Herb Dean not being able to jump in time. I think there were, and we can even go literally. We probably won't talk about this fight, but for some reason before this thing, I watched Sergey Spivak versus.
Oh, I missed that one.
Man, it's literally the first fight on the card, and man, hey yo, like that guy took a beating for like for literally 3 rounds, and they just called it like halfway through the third, like that kind of stuff, like or like irks me a little bit more. No brain trauma is good brain trauma, but this one, it's like he goes in for the shot, it's a flash knockout, like before you know it, this guy's on top of him, winging shots, like I mean,
I think it's
Hey, man,
I think it's more
don't.
so like remember
But
Ben.
first of all, not
Like
a
Ben,
flash
sorry, go
knockout is
ahead.
when you come out and in. This was not a flash knockout.
okay, sorry, not a flash knockout. It was a lightning fast knockout. Sorry.
Like it happened so fast. I get what you're trying to say. Like the transition happened so quick that look, I don't think it's. I think look, you go until you are stopped, right? And I think there is that thing. And with striking, it gets more dynamic and it gets a little more weirder than let's say Paul Harris wrenching on like a heel hook or something.
That's what I was going to say. Don't
Yeah,
criticize me for cranking submissions if this is going to be the standard.
yeah,
Honestly,
right.
like I'm
You
fighting for
just
my life in there, and I've got to now worry about somebody hitting me while I'm unconscious. Sorry, if I get an arm, I'm taking it home.
Yeah, no. In
Pull
fairness,
me
though,
off
with
the
Paul
guy.
Harris, he's literally being pulled off by a referee and still holding on. Like
He's an edge case. He's an edge case.
yeah, that's a different. But my point is that like
That's our point, though. This isn't an edge case. Like, this isn't like he was wailing on him for like
yeah,
10, 15 strikes afterwards. This isn't even like that first card in the fight where he's literally doing like, it must have been like 30, 15, 20 unanswered shots. Like, it was crazy. Um, but like, I get it. It's not a good, and Herb Dean could have been in there faster. But then
I
again,
actually don't know if he could have, to be
yeah, that's
honest.
what
Like
I'm
he could
saying.
have been.
Like, he must
Yeah,
have been literally touching the guy,
Yeah,
and
I'm not holding Herb Dean at fault for this. I think maybe it's a poor decision by Derrick Lewis. I don't know how to feel about it. I
yeah,
hate how there's such a double
a
standard
double
with
standard.
submissions
Yeah,
and punches in this regard. Like we can celebrate a moment like Dan Henderson punching Michael Bisping into orbit, and then saying afterwards, "Yeah, those extra ones when he was unconscious, that's for him talking shit." Like, come on.
yeah. No, my I've come around on that. You have to keep in mind when we saw that we were all kids at that point. Like so we were all like yeah, and we didn't really. And even then, we knew brain trauma was a thing, but we didn't realize how bad CTE was really. And like
Yeah,
again, we're all kids, right?
the
So
UFC at the time saying there's never been a major injury as a result of fighting. It's like, give me a break.
what?
Come
yeah,
on.
I gotta
yeah.
say this though, the UFC did actually a pretty decent job building this fight up. Both fighters, I thought. Like, I actually learned a little bit more about Derek Lewis and Curtis Blaydes during the fight card. So shouts out to them for that. I thought they were pretty creative. One would say even one-ish in their build-up and promo of the fighters. It wasn't the standard like, oh, here's a shot of this guy at the gym hitting
Wait,
back.
they were one-ish? Hold on. Did they talk about how, because some kid in Louisiana witnessed Derek Lewis eating Popeye's
They
chicken,
talked about
he's now
Curtis
inspired to
Blaydes.
become the world's greatest chicken chef?
They talked about Curtis Blaydes' speech impediment. I didn't even know about that. I didn't even
Yeah, I
know
didn't know about
he had
that
a speech
either.
impediment.
Man, as a person who used to have a speach impediment, I mess with that. That's
Shut up,
good.
Michael. All right.
No, seriously.
Shut up. We don't believe you.
No, I seriously have speech impediment. But anyway, okay, it's fine. Whatever.
So let's talk about the heavyweight picture right now. Heavyweight top 10.
I mean, does this really move the needle anymore? I think Derrick Lewis coming into this fight, coming out of this fight, wasn't really talking about, hey, I want to be the champion, I want to fight for the title. He was really like, I want to fight.
I love his attitude though, his carefree attitude. You almost want to give him a title shot just for fun, just to see what happens. You know?
I mean, we did that already with Daniel Cormier, remember?
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, I mean, I'd like to see. Call me crazy, but I want to see an Ngannou rematch after Ngannou loses to Stipe.
Pass.
What if Ngannou wins? Like, what happens?
Give him Derrick Lewis anyways.
I
Who
mean,
else are you gonna give?
honestly, at this point, we have to respect Derrick Lewis' stand up because guys are not wanting to go in there and try to kia with him. You know what I mean? Like you gotta respect him. Like you're either
Yeah.
gonna wrestle him or you're gonna be in for like a long night.
Yeah.
Or
So
you gotta be super technical.
How about this?
Sorry.
How about this? Sorry, go on.
Even if you're gonna be super technical, like man,
Ooh,
like you're
I got an
gonna,
idea.
John
Yeah.
Jones, Derrick Lewis,
No.
Volkov, Blaydes 2. If Blaydes chooses that he should fight again. And then with Magumba versus Stiopic, we take the winner of Cyril Gunn and Rosenstruik and put them against the winner of that fight.
No.
Oh no! You
Come
got
on.
the order all messed up. No, all right.
All right, here's the idea. Here's the right idea.
And then Tom Aspinall versus Alexei Oleinik.
No, versus Chris Dacus. I need that fight.
Yeah, after last night.
No. Alexei Oleinik.
No, no.
And then we bring back Tank Abbott to fight Francis Ngannou.
Stefano's on crack today. Okay, here's the
I got an idea. Keith Hackney. We bring back Keith Hackney against John Jones in the heavyweight debut.
old school rules apply.
I like it. John Jones versus Derrick Lewis fight. That sounds fun, personally.
Oh, what was that? Yeah, especially because what is Derrick Lewis if not a larger, less kick-heavy Thiago Santos in a lot of ways, right?
I guess. I never thought about it.
You
but
know,
I guess.
it's not a bad comparison. Okay, here's the right idea, guys. Winner of Rosenstruik Gone versus Derrick Lewis. There it is. That's it.
Sure.
Say that again.
Winner of Rosenstruik versus Gone, which is literally next week, versus Derrick Lewis. That's it.
No, that does nothing to advance the title picture. Here's what we do. We take the winner of Gone versus Rosenstruik, the real contender fight in this division, and we put them against the champion. Then we do John Jones versus Derrick Lewis, and then we do Tom Aspinall. Listen, I hope you're listening, versus Ken Shamrock.
Oh,
You're
God.
killing me, man. You're killing me.
Oh, God. Ooh, have you guys seen Ken Shamrock recently? Like, this is such an unrelated thing, but recently he looks scary. He looks
Like roided?
Oh yeah, to the gills. To the gills.
He always is.
Yeah. Like 6-pack at 60 years old, muscles. Like,
we do Alberto Del Rio versus Stipe Miocic, and then
Versus Brock Lesnar.
we do Tito Ortiz versus Brock Lesnar.
And we make it a tag team match.
Yes.
And we make it in a cage, a Hell in a Cell.
And Hell in a Cell, and then we do Magumba versus Ngannou.
No holds barred too. You know, just
Isn't that the same person?
Anyways, yeah, heavyweights got me a little bit titillated, a little bit excited. I don't know if we want to talk co-main or we want to get into the heavyweight matchups on this card now that we're talking about, because we crowned 2 new heavyweight prospects on this card tonight.
Yeah. Wow, we're gonna just skip over the women like that. Sexism.
We'll get to them. It's just I thought on the topic we might as well, since we're on the topic of heavyweight.
That was not a good fight.
Yeah.
The what's it called? The Chris Dacus fight. Nothing really much to say about that. Alexei Oleinik. I think in the previous show we asked, Alexei Oleinik always does something crazy, always does something wild, and I was looking for that. The only wild thing I saw was like he really came in with no game plan for the stand up at all. And really, once he couldn't get it to the ground, like that was all she wrote. Like you could see, like there was a large skill differential, and you can see also the referee was trying to give him the benefit of the doubt. Like, hey, maybe he's trying to play possum, or no, he was getting lit up on, unfortunately. So Chris Dawkins can box for sure.
I will say this about Mr. Olenek. He fights on the feet like a dad at a soccer game, and one of the other parents just tripped his daughter. Like that's how he fights on the feet. Just these wide winging. There's no method to it. It's just I'm gonna swing these straight arm punches and hurt you. And there was a big disadvantage as far as speed goes. There's a big disadvantage as far as boxing technique, and he was just overwhelmed and outmatched.
This is like deceptively fast though. Like deceptively, not just fast, but fluid. Chris Dawkins.
Oh man, let's not do that. I think let's watch him fight another person who's gonna like stand there and throw some like interesting like stand up stuff for him, because I don't think this was a fair.
It's true. But like you just look at his movements and you're like, whoa, like I did not see that coming. You know what I'm saying? The first fight he fought Rodrigo Nascimento, I think, and I was like, But this one, I was like, whoa, he moves well, like fluid. You know what I'm saying? Not just.
Oh, Derrick Lewis called out Overeem. Sorry, by the way.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about. Like that's a weird fight. Overeem's coming off a loss. You're coming off a win. Like.
I make money moves.
Yeah.
Why do I feel like that fight's happened before? Has it? It hasn't.
No.
Why do I feel like Overeem's been knocked out by everybody?
No, because you're thinking of Magumba versus.
Do you remember that Derrick Lewis got knocked out by Matt Mitrione?
Yeah. Yeah.
And Sean Jordan? What the hell?
Yeah. No, I remember both of those fights. Actually, I remember they were pushing Sean Jordan to the moon when he knocked out Derrick Lewis.
Wow, he has 2 losses to Sean Jordan.
Speaking of being pushed, I think they're talking about Chris Dawkins having a number next to his name, which I don't know. Do you think that's fair?
Yeah, it's heavyweight, absolutely.
Well, he beat Olenek, who was number 10, so why the hell not, right? Like,
I mean, it's his third fight, but okay.
Yeah, Olenek was ranked, so he beat a ranked guy. There's a number.
Is Gannon ranked? Gannon?
Don's like 4. He's like, no, Gon's 3. No, is he 3 or 4? He beat Junior Dos Santos, who was ranked, so he gets a number. I don't understand why this is, it's not that hard.
So how about the other heavyweight matchup we had on this card?
We had 3, didn't we? There was Spivak, and there was also
the other important heavyweight matchup on the card.
Fair enough.
We had Tom Aspinall versus Andrei Arlovsky. Now, I missed large portions of this fight. I saw it was competitive. I saw that Arlovsky was working his way into exchanges and landing that right cross that he typically likes to throw. Man, though, did he look pissed at himself for tapping?
Man, but I mean, it just happened so fast. Aspinall apparently has a background in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu that I don't know how. It wasn't clear how much to gauge his experience, because it seems like it's his dad who like owns the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu thing. But apparently his dad is a coach and all of that kind of stuff, so he has a background in that. And it just seemed like as soon as it touched the floor, like he just had that instinct to grab the arm and go for the choke. And yeah,
is it like the Aaron Pico effect? Sorry, I was gonna ask, is it like the Aaron Pico effect, where Aaron Pico likes to box, but if it goes to the ground, you're in trouble? Like.
I just really have to use it.
I just want to say, as far as the takedown, as far as the first of all, the takedown is what Professor Frank calls the fat man takedown, where someone low kicks you and you just fall on top of the leg. Or looked a little more like a football tackle in the sense that he just kind of ran him to the cage. But man, I have a theory. I think Arlovsky instinctively panic tapped as soon as the squeeze came on, instead of like just out of instinct, just like boom, quick tap, and he's like, oh fuck, because yeah, the hooks weren't in, and that hand was on top of the head, and he wasn't even reaching for it, to be honest with you.
Do you think that's just a result of like respecting the tap in training? Like
quite possibly, yeah.
I mean, I hate to say that, because you should respect the tap in training for all the young fighters in the gym. Don't be a hero. Like, you're gonna go to sleep and then it's not gonna be good for you. But I think there is that method of when you do go to a competition and the rear naked choke comes on, you tap a little early, and I think maybe that happened.
Yeah, it's competitive. Yeah, it's competitive. Training up for a fight, like, I guess you have to find a way to change your instincts and whatnot to resist a little bit more to the choke. And yeah, I don't know because it was honestly a competitive fight. It looked like they both hurt each other at points in this fight, and I was excited. I've been excited for a slight career resurgence that Andrei Arlovski has had. He's looked more durable in recent years, and but I mean, hey, I'm excited for the ascendancy of Tom Aspinall. This was an interesting little performance on his part.
Yeah, man, I like Aspinall's style. He looks really light for a heavyweight. He's a big guy, but like looks super lightweight on his feet. British, which I always love. 27 as well, which is crazy.
Which he loves. He loves his men young.
Hilarious. No, he's just young. And yeah, no, I thought his like stand up looked good. Once again, I love the UK's known for good kickboxers. His kickboxing looked pretty darn good.
And he's another guy who also looks fluid. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Is it just me, or should he check to see if Frank Mir was in town when he was conceived?
Yeah, he looks a little like Frank Mir.
Yeah.
Plus having his dad in the corner.
There was one thing that he was doing, which was interesting, and I don't know if he's going to take out of his game, was his chin was way, way, way up there when Arlovski was kind of rushing in with hooks and even straight sometimes. Like he would like back up with like his chin high, almost in an Adesanya way, but like it was so like close cut sometimes that I'm wondering for the heavyweight division where if you get clipped even once by Derrick Lewis, like you're gonna go out, like whether that's the best kind of strategy.
I think the problem is there's two types of defenders, right? There's actually three. There's the parriers, there's the blockers, and there's the missers, right? And the missers like to have their chins in the air. And unfortunately,
Risky.
Yeah, no, it's risky, but like it's pretty, right? I mean, Israel Adesanya is like the example, right? Chin straight in the air, but he steps back and gets you just out of the way, and then he hits you with something. Then he misses and just out of the way, hits you with something. It's pretty, right? And I think Anderson Silva never has chin in the air when he did it, but I think that people watched a little too much Anderson Silva and want to make people miss. I think that's what it is, right? And unfortunately, missers tend to have that flaw. Stefano, your glasses are so distracting. I know you need them. You look like you're entering the Matrix, man.
Who says I'm not?
But yeah, no, like I think it's interesting though. Like I think this division is like weirdly starting to get me excited. There's some guys here, there's some new blood, and I think we're starting to see guys who look like fluid. Like I know Tanner Boser lost against Arlovski recently, but he's a guy that like I really harp on where it's like the movement looks good, the cardio looks good, he's checking the boxes.
Yep. Heavyweight's starting to excite me more than light heavyweight at the moment. I'll say that.
Yeah. Right.
There's some sumptuous young contenders, and man, heavyweight goes through long periods of just stagnancy. But I'm not gonna lie, this is the most excited I've been for heavyweight since the Strikeforce crossover.
Oh yeah, where they had like Bigfoot and Overeem and
Cormier and Verdum and yeah. One thing I will say about this fight, which I remembered because of Tom Aspinall looking like Frank Mir and having his dad come and corner him. You remember when Frank Mir's dad used to walk him to the octagon and they'd kiss on the lips?
Oh my God.
That was a little uncomfortable to say the least.
Man. Why? Why?
What it did? It's true. It happened. Are you saying why to me or why to Frank Mir?
Well, both at this point. But
what do you mean? Why? Why to me? I'm just bringing up something that happened. Anyway,
it's true.
Let's not throw any shade on the females in the main event. Yana Kunitskaya versus Caitlin Vieira. What do you guys think about the decision?
Is this what? Okay, did anyone feel like this fight was hella boring? Or is that just me?
I fell asleep before the third round and woke up just before the beginning of the Lewis Blaydes fight.
Man,
But I
this
watched
fight
the
was
first and
horrible.
second round and fell asleep towards the end of the second round with Yana just grinding out Kate.
I know, I get it. Like, I get that she, we have to respect the grinders a little more. Like, I get that. Yeah. But, I get that. But it was just like, Yana, basically, her game has turned into get him up against the cage and do nothing. you know?
She is a conservative fighter, and there were periods of interesting enough jiu-jitsu in this fight, but I mean, yeah, it kind of seemed to me in a lot of cases whoever got on top won and worked fairly conservatively. Um, Whoever was on bottom just kind of looked lost to me.
Yeah, like, it was just weird. I mean, in terms of your question about the decision, I
I'm
mean,
with it. I'm with
yeah,
it. 2 rounds
like,
to one for Kunitskaya. I think I'm with it.
yeah, I'm not mad at it. And I'm not trying to say that, like, I understand. Look, as a person who's doing jujitsu, and practices, I understand what happens. Sometimes you just get someone who's really good at positional control. They get into one position and you can't get them out. Like, there's a guy in the gym who's really good at Kazakatami, and it's just like it's hell on earth. You're just like, okay, I gotta take my time here. I get it. I completely get it. But it seems like with Yana, if you're up against the fence, you're there for the entire night. If you're in side control, you're there for the entire night.
I'll say she did a good job of punctuating the fight at the in the last round with those elbows. Oh my God, Caitlin Vieira's face was a mess from that last 10 seconds.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
That
and
massive cut on the hairline and that the swelling on the left side of her forehead was pretty nasty.
and to your point, Michael, she did look pretty strong last night. She's pretty ripped. Yeah, I think that Caitlin Vieira was the bigger fighter, but she looked pretty strong last night. So to a grappling exchange with her, yeah, not bad.
Good insight, Stefano.
Gracias. So next we have Derrick Minner, apparently not Minor, against Charles Rosa, who I didn't know this has been in the UFC since 2014, since that
Wow.
late notice replacement against our boy, the German guy, the Conor McGregor called the Nazi. You know what I'm talking about, Dennis Siever.
Yeah.
This for me had some interesting moments of jiu-jitsu. Derrick Minner, wild on the feet, wild, not very systematic, but he puts pressure on you, and he was cracking Rosa repeatedly when Rosa tried to enter. And was just able to force him up against the cage. I'll say if there's something that bothers me about his game is that he's not super active with ground and pound from the top. But I believe his thing is, he's a submission artist. I think 22 submissions out of 23 wins, 21 of them coming in the first round. And his grappling was able to be carried out into the later rounds as well. Good guillotine. He was always hunting for that arm triangle, and I thought a few times he was going to have it, but a few times he was hampered by the fence. Good job of maintaining top control. I think Rosa looked very fun in the last round with that active guard throwing up arm bars. I thought he almost had that one arm bar where he used the cage to swivel around, but the elbow was just able to be popped free. He nearly had a triangle at the end of the second round too. So he gave a good account of himself and a good offensive guard. I like this fight. Good takedown for Minner as well.
I 100% agree with everything Stefano said, but I did not like this fight. I saw.
Well, David, you're a pleb.
Yeah, no, for real though, because I saw what you were saying. What you were saying. Derek, I mean, the stand-up was, with all due respect, not a significant feature of this fight. I'll just gonna say that because Minner was trying to get it down to the ground as soon as possible because that's
his game.
And I can respect that. But once it did get to the ground, I thought Rosa for a while hung in there, threw up some interesting stuff from the bottom, but it was really a pretty one-note fight of Minner trying to ground and pound, trying to land a submission here and there, if not reestablishing position, and the other guy once in a while trying to counter with something. But
I thought there was a beautiful sweep attempt here, a beautiful sweep off of I think
was it off of half guard? You're talking about the one off of half
No,
guard?
I'm talking about the I believe it was Rosa who attacked a straight ankle lock and switched it to a knee bar. Minner freed his knee, and then he switched to a calf slicer and actually thought he was going to get it. I believe it was this fight.
Okay. Yeah, no, like I actually enjoyed the transitions in this fight. I think it's a stark contrast to what makes a fight good if you're a grappler, and it's not. And I think it's what makes Ryan Hall such a cult-like figure. It's the transitions, right? Like it's the activity. What are you doing on the ground, right? And I really just enjoyed, like, I wouldn't necessarily say these guys were active, like, it wasn't like a 1,000 transitions a minute, but I think I just really enjoyed that these guys were actually actively trying to improve their position at every point, Whereas Vieira versus Kunitskaya, you didn't really get that, at least in my opinion. I hate to harp on that, so yeah.
Less so, lower level of grappling in general. Yeah, and then the final fight that we haven't talked about yet on the main card. Now, I questioned the wisdom in putting these guys on the main card simply because they both only had one fight in the UFC. Phil Haas versus Nasruddin Imavov. It turned out to be a interesting fight. Phil Haas proving that if you can't be pretty, man, you got to be gritty. And he leaned on that D1 wrestling heavily in this matchup. Imavov looking very dangerous even late into the fight. Did a good job for how outmatched he was in the wrestling, I believe, of fighting the hands, trying to find a frame, fighting wrist control with that overhook and attempting to separate. It became clear that there was a big disparity in wrestling skill, and a couple of bad decisions on his part as well, like trying to wrap up the tie clinch with his back smushed up against the cage. Never a good idea. It's a great way to get, double underhooked and taken down. But I thought he had some interesting moments in this fight. I really did. I thought I'm more excited for these guys coming out of this fight. No, I was just going to say I'm more excited for these guys coming out of this fight.
Yeah, like just to add on that point, you'd be surprised how much worse of a wrestler you can be if you win the pummel war. If you're winning the pummeling, you can be a pretty substantially worse wrestler, and I wouldn't necessarily say you're not going to get taken down, but you'd come out okay. And I think in small senses, you saw it with Derrick Lewis and Curtis Blaydes, where Curtis Blaydes got the whizzer, he got under, and then got a tie clinch in that first takedown. But in this fight, you really saw, like, Imavov, right? You really saw him. First of all, he got the wrist, as you mentioned. He got the wrist and then got an underhook and was able to really stymie Phil Haas a little bit. So I just wanted to tell people, everyone talks about the ankle picks and the double legs and, changing position and side suplexes. It's all great. But it all starts with overhook, underhook, and wrist control and whizzer. Those are the fundamentals of wrestling. Please do them.
Got to keep them. Got it. When you're at a wrestling disadvantage, just think of yourself like the Osprey. Got to keep them separated. Keep those hands apart. Keep distance between your opponent. And I will say, as a wrestler, myself, or a grappler, I guess, it is a pain in the freaking ass to try and take someone down when they're always inserting frames where I don't want them. Like under the neck, for instance, that forearm under the neck is a pain in the ass to deal with. If it's a pain in the ass to deal with if I'm trying to take you down. Just controlling the head, keeping the head away, keeping the hands separated goes a long, 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 long way.
Yeah. I thought I ditto what you guys said. The result was kind of surprising. I think this says majority draw, if I'm not mistaken.
No, one person. It was a majority decision. One person gave it a draw. One judge gave it a draw.
Okay, sorry. Then I might just be reading score. Because, I felt like Haas won that fight pretty clearly, 2-1, maybe. Maybe I would have given the last round to Imavov just because he stunned Haas. Haas did what he had to do, kind of like ground them, grappled them, and made it a tough fight. But Imavov did well, because I thought after that first round, I thought, okay, this is going to be a short fight. But Imavov did well to stay in there, made up for the wrestling discrepancy, and by the end of the round, Haas was tiring, and when they separated, Imavov kind of like picked his shots and did his thing. And I think both of these guys have a good career in the UFC, and like Stefano, I was saying, who are these guys before they were on the main card? But they both deserved to be on the main card today with their skill level for sure.
Yeah. No, it was a good fight.
Haas fights for Sanford MMA, if I'm not mistaken. I think I heard that.
He does. Sanford and Imavov is out of the same gym as Cyril Gahn and formerly Francis Ngannou, who left the gym.
Oh, he left the factory?
I believe he did. In anticipation of a match between him and Gahn.
Oh.
So, anything on the prelims we want to touch on? There's a couple of things that I think bear mentioning.
Castaneda, Wineland, man. First of all, two things. Wineland looks great with hair. Pause. But he looks great with hair. He needs to keep his hair on. Second of all, he looked okay. He does this weird old-timey boxy thing where he rolls his arms when he punches, which, I'm no expert in striking, but I've been told that this is the last thing you want to do when you're going up against someone. Maybe it's it works in MMA because you have the threat of the takedown, so you don't really know what's coming. But as soon as he got hit, with all due respect, not a guy with a super diverse range of striking tools. As soon as he got hit, you could tell it was all she wrote. So I wouldn't say it's time to retire, but Mr. Wineland, grow your hair. If you can't take these shots, then maybe it might be time to consider modeling.
And then the other two I'd like to bring attention to, Julian Erosa versus Nate Landwehr. This was fun while it lasted. Erosa's been a fighter I've been kind of following for a while, coming off of the America versus Europe season of The Ultimate Fighter. And man, this guy used to fight like a Dominic Cruz. Fleet of foot, dancing around the cage, cutting angles, primarily a footwork-based style. And I thought he did himself a big disservice a little later in his career by becoming flat-footed and, starting to bank on a power that I didn't think was necessarily there. It's crazy, like a 180 change in his style. It's like very few things that I've seen in MMA. Other than Henry Cejudo switching to karate striking, there's very, very few sudden transformations this big. But he's on a bit of a roll right now, coming into the UFC after the Contender Series and then taking a few last-minute replacements. His last fight, he defeated Sean Woodson by anaconda choke, I believe.
I remember that one.
And in this,
Woodson was super arrogant with his boxing. I remember that one. We talked about it on the pod.
Yeah. And this one was just, wow, this was a fun fight. He just accepted the firefight that Landwehr wanted to get into, both of them getting dropped early on and then just following up with that flying knee against the cage. Good stoppage in my view, as much as Landwehr protested. But this was a war for while it lasted, and I enjoyed it.
Man, I always say it. Sometimes you...
Hold on. Christian Yaboa, guest of the podcast, is calling. Let's see. Christian, can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Can you guys hear him?
Yeah, we can hear him.
Yo, Chris, I'm here.
Yo, I just spoke to Professor. He said I can come to Mandor tomorrow at 12. Yeah.
Did he now?
Yeah.
But Christian, you don't like to train?
Bro, there's literally I'm literally doing nothing. My school is light.
Okay, Christian, you're live on air on the Leg Kick podcast. I'll have you know.
Hi, people.
Say hi to the people of the Leg Kick. This is the famous Christian Yaboa Leg Kick viewers that we're always roasting.
Wait, you guys are roasting me on live?
See, this is how I know that he doesn't listen to our podcast.
He roasts you.
Oh, you do? Then you don't. Then why are you surprised that we roast you?
I wasn't surprised. Well, I'm not really.
Yeah, this guy doesn't listen to our podcast. Anyways, Chris,
yes, I do.
I'll call you back. I'll call you back when we're done recording.
Oh my God! All right, let me sign on.
All right, that was Christian Yaboa, another top Ghanaian athlete. They don't really make them much better in Ghana, to be honest with you.
Oh God.
Anyways,
we're gonna stop the entire nation of Ghana.
I like Julian Erosa, man. He looks really good. I like his style. I agree. If he looks like Dominic Cruz before or TJ Dillashaw or whatever that footwork game is, he should stick with that because he seemed really good at it and it looked really aesthetically pleasing.
Well, that's not what he did now. I'm saying that's what he used to do. Now he's a lot more static. But anyways, finally we have Faraz Sahabi's brother getting a W on the undercard. Ayman
Hey.
Zahabi.
Got off the snide a little bit too. He was on a bit of a losing streak, if I remember correctly.
He was coming off some brutal KOs. So good to see the younger brother of Firas Zahabi doing well, with a startling knockout. Nice intercepting counter, right straight, I believe. Getting the W. Yeah, I think that pretty much wraps up the card in a neat little bow.
There's one more thing I wanted to talk about. Chaz Galley fight. Some guy. Oh, so I say some guy. Let me pull up his name. Not to be disrespectful. Meant to fight Josh Hammers. Josh Hammers.
Hakeem Dawood.
What? No, not Hakeem Dawood. Chaz Galley meant to fight Josh Hammers, and
That wasn't Josh Emmers, was it?
Yeah,
Jamal Emmers. Jamal
Emmers. Josh Emmers. Anyway,
you're thinking of Josh Emmett.
Oh, there it is.
Okay. So many fighters. Okay, Jamal Emmers, and apparently the dude's having back spasms before the fight, and Chaz Galley's literally standing in the ring. I thought that was pretty crazy. I don't think I've ever seen that happen in the UFC. I think that's never happened.
That would never happen. That would never happen.
Have you guys ever had I wouldn't say as bad as back spasms that you couldn't fight, or even have you had an injury right before you're about to fight that you're like, ooh,
I've fought every one of my fights with a terrible injury. Let's see, LCL tear in my last one, minor LCL tear. Then the one before that, I had torn intercostal muscles in my ribs. Those are the muscles that allow you to breathe. And then before that one, that would have been torn ACL. Before that, I had nerve damage in my neck. The list goes on and on. I've had I've had a terrible injury before every single fight. Because that says something about how I train. Anyways, Mike, anything for you?
No, I'm pretty healthy going into fights. Pretty healthy.
Fuck you.
I'm durable. I'm made of iron.
But
he's not
that
kidding.
was something that just popped up when he was warming up. You know what I mean?
I think it was an ongoing thing, and then it got bad in the back.
Yeah.
No pun intended.
They call it spasms for a reason, right? They're spazzy.
One thing that this does remind me of, I know years ago there was an event, I don't know if it was Pride or UFC, where Kevin Randleman was supposed to fight someone.
Slipped.
And then he
was facing
slipped.
Pedro Rizzo.
He slipped on the floor, knocked himself unconscious, and the fight wasn't able to happen. So I know that happened as well.
Yeah. Right. And the worst part of the UFC, this is how despicable the UFC was back in the day. You think they're despicable now. Here's what happened. So the UFC knows this happened, and they don't tell a soul. They don't tell anybody. Right. And people are expecting probably one of the best leg kickers of all time face, this explosive brick shithouse. And they're like, all right, guys, peace easy later, everybody. Thanks for coming out. And there was no Pedro Rizzo versus Kevin Randleman.
I wonder if they were trying to be like, okay, can he fight? Can he fight even though he knocked himself out?
That wouldn't be surprising. I just thought it was weird. I've never seen anything like that.
Yeah, that was an odd one. And also Luis Pena, that fight was pulled. The Drakkar Klose Luis Pena was pulled due to an injury. Or no, due to one of Drakkar Klose's cornermen getting COVID.
And will the gods give us a violent Bob Ross fight? Anyway, yeah.
Anyways, is there any story time? Oh yeah, Mike, you're going to tell us about how you used to work as a Costco lady giving out samples.
I think I remember that story, but I think it was a weird Costco, and when you say sample, he was talking about samples of that dick. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, David, they can't all be zingers. They can't all be zingers. Sometimes the punchline just doesn't work.
David, for 3, airball.
If you were white, your face would be red right now. Anyways, he knows it's true. He's blushing.
Nope. Yep. That landed.
So, anyways, Mike, why don't you tell us about how you had to wear a hairnet and, ask people if they wanted chocolate pudding.
Jeez. Okay, where do I start with this one? So it was in between college, right? So I'm trying to get my first, a job. I worked at Kiss 92.5 for Sunday nights, and I was trying to get something next because the contract was up. And what ended up happening was that it took a little longer than I thought, and I needed a job. So I applied online to, I think, a place called Iron Cat or whatever. It was something like that. And basically it was one of these, you ever heard of these Smart Circle MLMs? Right? Yeah, it was kind of like that. It was weird. I didn't see that coming.
MLM like pyramid scheme?
Yeah, smart. So, because I didn't even know what was at the time, but like I looked it up and people were like, oh, scam, MLM, Smart Circle MLM. So basically, what they do is they make you work for them and they'll give you like a lick of money, but it's essentially like them trying to sell off like a commission based job to you. And yeah, so I worked. So one of their things was they would sell off a product, right? And I worked with food, and you'd have to go and give samples and try to get people to buy some of these products. And my product was, I think, a pierogi or whatever. So I'd have to make pierogies in a hairnet. Right? So business
The fishnets
attire,
were optional, but Mike wore those anyways.
right? Right. So I literally would have to show up to work in like a dress shirt, pants, dress pants, and dress shoes, right? And then they'd give me a hairnet and a apron, and I'd make pierogies. Take the temperature of the pierogies, put them out, and they couldn't be too hot because someone would complain if they're too hot. And then, give people this, I guess, these, if they wanted some, the frozen, box of the pierogies, and go home. And I die a little inside until.
Wait, did you make commission off of if you sold pierogies?
So this was the thing, right? If I made under a certain amount, I would get commission. But if I made over a certain amount, I would. Like I would make that money as my commission, right? So I think the amount was like, okay, like you would. So obviously it was minimum. They said it was like minimum wage. So like minimum wage in Canada is at this point 14. So it was 14 an hour, right? And I worked 8 hours. But if I made more than that, then I would get commission. But then they jibbed me and said, oh, no. We meant if you made more than $500 in the boxes, then you make that money as your commission for the day. Right? And I was like, BS, I quit. And then after I worked in radio, like the next week after, because somebody called me and was like, hey, you want to work in North Bay? And I was like, sure, get me out of here.
Fascinating story, Mike. Anyways, that was our lackluster story of the week. I just wanted to tell you about how Mike was a pierogi salesman with a bunch of 40-year-old Romanian ladies wearing fishnet stockings and
I
hairnets.
may not have landed it, but there's a joke in there somewhere.
Somewhere. Mike somehow managed to make that story unfunny.
Dude, I was like, well, I don't know what you want me. What you
Hold
want
on,
me to
Mike.
tell you?
You've talked enough. That was like one of those mundane, rambling stories that like your grandpa tells you. Here is 1974, and I was selling used cars for Volvo at the time. I remember Mr. Raymond. He was my work associate. And
I don't know what you guys want to tell me. Like,
every day for work, he'd bring frozen peas and anchovies. The smell used to light up the break room, and that's how I knew it was lunchtime. Like, all right, Mike.
Hey, man. Look, the story was what it was, all right?
Anyways, guys, we are the Leg Pick podcast. Leg Pick. We are the Leg Kick podcast, and I have gotten far too little sleep over the past week. We are on YouTube. We are on Spotify. We are on anywhere where podcasts can be found. I don't care if you have an old iPod from 2013 and you downloaded a couple of episodes of the Joe Rogan Experience. We're on it too. We're on anywhere where podcasts can be found. Check under a rock outside and you'll be able to find us. We're coming at you, but we don't do it for free. So subscribe, like, tell a friend, tell your mother, tell your dog.
Wait, how much am I paying you?
Me? Oh, I've just been stealing from your bank account every week.
All right. Remind me to give you a demotion later.
So, anyways, Yeah, I don't know what else there's to say. Mike, to play us out, what does that mean?
And fuck it, we'll do it live. We'll do it
Fuck
live. Okay. Well, in this crazy mixed up world where we'll punch you in the nuts if you don't subscribe, just remember, you got three things. Well, David will. David will punch you in the nuts. You got three things. You got life, you got family, and you got this podcast. Stay safe, everybody.